Good morning, class. Today's lesson is about the arithmetic sequence that you already did last year, and you also learned or know it as the linear sequence. Now, what distinguishes the arithmetic sequence from any other sequence is that it always has a constant difference between the terms. That means that if you subtract term 1 from term 2, it will give you the same answer when you subtract term 2 from term 3. Now, on your packet that we gave you on the day that you came to get your textbook, on page 1, there is an example of a sequence -2, -4, -6, and the last term is -14. Now, when we use this formula, we can say that term 2 minus term 1 will give us -4 minus, and remember, when you have a minus next to a minus, you must always put it in brackets. Brackets mean multiply. So it's -4 minus times a minus is a plus 2. And this will give you -2. If you look at the next difference, it will be -6 minus -4. That gives you -6. Plus 4, and you also get -2. If the difference between these terms has a constant value, that means the same value, we know that it is an arithmetic sequence because it has a constant difference. Now, the arithmetic sequence has a general term formula, and you have to know that by heart. It is Tn equals A plus n minus 1 times D. Remember, you have to multiply the D with the answer in the bracket. Now, what does this mean? Tn means it is the nth term. It usually is the last one. A is first in our alphabet, so A is our very first term's value. N is the number of terms. And D is our constant difference. You will get these formulas. You have a general term formula, you have a sum term formula, but you will get all these formulas on a formula sheet at the end of the year, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. If we look at our first example on page 1 of your pack of notes, you get a sequence of -2, -4, -6, and -14. And one possible question is to determine how many terms are in the sequence. So we actually want to know n's value. Now, what do we know already? We know that the constant difference is -2. We calculated that on the previous page. So we know that D, the difference, is -2. We also see that our very first term, A, is -2. We want to know what the nth term is, but they also give us the last term. So we know that Tn, the last term, is minus 14. And that is term Tn. Because we know this is an arithmetic sequence, we have a constant difference, we can use the general terms formula. Tn equals a plus n minus 1 times d. And now we substitute all the values that we have. Tn is minus 14. A is minus 2 plus. We have to work out n's value, so we keep it in, but d's value is minus 2. I can't write it like that because we have to multiply d with the bracket. So remember, if d is a negative value, that you must put it in brackets. Now we quickly work out the bracket. Minus 2 times n gives me minus 2n. Minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2. I'm going to take this n to the left hand side and this minus 14 to the right hand side. So you get 2n equals 14 minus 2 plus 2 is 0. So it's only 14. Now divide both sides with 2 and you get n equals 7. What is the question? How many terms are in the sequence? 7 terms. Therefore, there are 7 terms in this particular sequence. If we look at example B, we're going to use the same sequence. So we know that the difference is minus 2. But our question now is determine the 5th term. We know that A, the first term, is minus 2. We know that D is minus 2. We know that we are working with 5 terms, so n will be 5. And we want to work out term 5. Again, we're going to use our general term formula. Why can we use this formula? Because we know it's an arithmetic sequence. How do we know that? We have a constant difference each time. Now we just substitute all the values. A will be minus 2 plus n is 5. D is minus 2 and we're going to multiply that answer, so we put it in brackets. Because we know that n is 5, we have to say we're working out term 5. So if you write there Tn, it will be wrong because we already substituted the n with 5. Now we can work out what term 5's value is. 5 minus 1 gives you 4 in that bracket times minus 2. So it will be minus 2. 4 times minus 2 gives me minus 8. And the answer is minus 2 minus 8 is minus 10. Therefore, term number 5 equals negative 10. In this example, we're going to work out what the value of P is if they give you an arithmetic sequence with an unknown variable in each term. This example is not on your papers, so it will be good to copy it. calculate the value of p. So we want to know what p is. What do we know already? We know we are working with an arithmetic sequence. They say that. And because we're working with an arithmetic sequence, we also know that term 2 minus term 1 will be the same as term 3 minus term 2. And now we can substitute them. That is term 2, so we can put it here. 3p minus 1 minus term 1 is 2p minus 3. It consists of two terms. And because we have a minus with two terms, we have to put this in a bracket. Term 3 is 5p minus 2 minus. Term 2 consists of two terms, so we need to put it in a bracket. 3p minus 1. Now we multiply the minus in. Minus 2p. Minus times a minus is a plus 3. 5p minus 2. Minus times a plus is a minus 3p. Minus times a minus is a plus 1. Add all the liked terms. 3p minus 2p is 1p. Minus 1 plus 3 gives me plus 2 equals 5p minus 3p is 2p. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Now let's put all the p's on one side and all the constant numbers on the other side. Because this p has a greater coefficient, we are going to keep them on this side. So we have 2p, take this p over, minus p. The 2 stays here, the minus 1 goes over and it becomes plus 1. You have 3 equals 2p minus p equals p. Although your answer is correct, it's not mathematically correct to write 3 equals p, so you just say p equals 3. And that's your answer.